Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
From politics, we come to governance in this episode of Cut the Clutter. We talked about politics yesterday, the magic number of 119, how the BJP is now making a push in states where it does not have that many seats in Lok Sabha. From that, today we talk about governance. But also we keep at the back of our minds the fact that this is a very political government. This is the most political government in India's history, I would say. Every government is political. In a democracy, through politics you come to power, but no other government or no other political party in power has seen this kind of single-mindedness towards its political and ideological objectives as this one. So politics governs this party's actions much more than that of any other in the past. I don't say that in a judgmental sense, not to call it good or bad. I just make an analytical statement of fact. Now, when you see that, you look for what this government is doing in the area of governance. So it's doing many things which are new, which to its supporters will look innovative, to its critics would look chaotic. But besides that, can you find some other interesting trends? So we have found one, and I thank our political editor DK Singh for pointing this out to me, and I have data from him and Maushami Das Gupta, who's also among our senior editors, who covers the government. Now, if you remember UPA and go back to the May of 2014, when Narendra Modi wins his first mandate, one of the first things his government did, one of the first notifications his government issued was on May 31, 2014. That is within days of being sworn in. And what was the notification? The notification said that with this notification, we abolish all the groups of ministers and empowered groups of ministers set up by the UPA government. These were called GOMs and EGOMs, right? So Manmohan Singh government had developed this practice, or you could call it innovation at that point, of whenever there was a complex issue, instead of dealing with it in the entire cabinet, because it would cause clutter, we can't copyright that word, it would cause clutter, it would cause confusion, delayed in decisions, and very often when there were difficult decisions that you did not want to take just now, so to kick the can down the road, you set up groups of ministers and made somebody in charge of the group of ministers, saying you give a report in such and such time and we'll decide. This was basically to say that we'll decide this in the course of time, abhi chhod do, abhi time nahi hai. Among them, some were designated as EGOMs, empowered groups of ministers. An empowered group of ministers, unlike a GOM, had the official power to issue notifications. So an empowered group of ministers could take a decision like the cabinet. They were empowered by the cabinet. So in a way, that empowered group of ministers, which was a smaller group of either the ministers, relevant ministers from the relevant portfolios, and headed by a senior minister and including one or other important minister, they could take a decision and issue a notification like a cabinet order. Now, when the NDA abolished these on May 31, 2014, there were 9 EGOMs and 21 GOMs. That many. So it tells you that UPA 2 decision making had really become slow, and the buck was being passed around, or the parcel was being passed around like this. Now, the champion of the GOM business was Pranab Mukherjee. So between 2004 and 2012, when he was a minister first for defense, then for finance, in those 8 years, he headed a lot of GOMs and EGOMs. You want to know how many? He was the president until he became president in 2012. He had headed 24 GOMs, 24 out of the 39 GOMs at that point. 39 GOMs and EGOMs, of which 24 Pranab Da headed. So sometimes in the Congress circles, he was also called Gom Dada or EGOM Dada. Now, with him, the Dada went to Rashtrapati Bhavan, and then in the course of time, UPA wound up and lost power, and Modi government came in, and it did not want to repeat many of the ideas from the Congress governments. It wanted also to have new ideas. That's how Planning Commission or Yojana Ayog became Niti Ayog. Its powers and role also changed. So in that process of change, Modi government decided no GOMs, EGOMs, we don't need them. And a GOM Dada like Pranab, we don't need any of that. Congress party had that because Congress party had to kick the can down the road. Also, you knew in terms of what decision you really wanted to take and you did not want to take. So many of these groups of ministers did not take any decisions. Those decisions just kept waiting forever, because with that government, some power also lay with 10 Janpath and the NAC, National Advisory Committee, because even if an EGOM took a decision, it had to have the concurrence of 10 Janpath and for pretenses also of the core committee of the UPA. The Modi government has no such issue. It's a government with its own majority where allies now matter less and less. In fact, the allies have only one minister, and he also is a bit of a non-important minister, Ramdas Athawale. So this is a government on its own. But what happens is that when you start running a government, then you realize that many issues come up. And many issues come up which you then discuss in a crowd of 50, 60, 70 people. That is the size of the Council of Ministers. Then they lose their way. So for each one you need some specialists in some groups. So NDA 1, Mr. Modi did not call them GOMs or EOMs, but they set up something. For example, they did not abolish Yojana Ayog or Planning Commission. They abolished the name, kept the building, kept a lot of the bureaucracy, named it Niti Ayog, changed its role. So similarly, Modi government in its first term set up informal groups of ministers. These were not called GOMs or EGOMs. In the UPA times, GOMs and EGOMs themselves were notified and their details were put up on the website of the Prime Minister's office and the Cabinet Secretariat. No such thing was done. And a bunch of ministerial groups were set up, essentially of specialists. For example, there were specific groups set up for amendment or improvement in several laws. So there was one, the first one, for the Bureau of Indian Standards Amendment Bill. Arun Jaitley was made in charge. National Commission for Women Act improvements, Jaitley again in charge. Eminent lawyer, Juvenile Justice Amendment Act, Jaitley again in charge. A lot of these were following up sort of the post Nirbhaya case anger and the need for changing some of these laws. And also 2018 is when the Me Too movement was at its peak. Then there was a Ganga Review group of ministers that was headed by Nitin Gadkari. There was a Housing for All group, again under Nitin Gadkari. There was Child Labour Amendment Bill, Child Labour Act Amendment Bill, that was under Venkaiah Naidu, who's now our Vice President. There was a Seeds Bill under Rajnath Singh. I don't know what happened to it. There was a National Environment Regulator. What kind of regulator do you need? Under Prakash Javadekar. There was a group also for fast clearances and green and clean clearances, but quickly for power, coal, steel and mining sectors, which were seen to have got stalled in the UPA times. And remember, the UPA itself had set up many groups of ministers for precisely those problems, but those were not resolved. So these groups were set up in NDA 1, but these were completely informal. In NDA 2, however, this has been given a slightly more formal shape. And when you watch a government closely and you watch politics closely, it's fascinating to see how much happens that you may not have noticed, particularly in this government, which is not very particularly forthcoming with information, not enough press conferences, not enough is put on its websites. The RTI is not as potent as a tool as it used to be. So you know less and less about this government. So as we find out more, it becomes even more fascinating. And once again, thanks to my colleagues TK Singh and Maushami Dasgupta, I have this information. So under NDA 2 now, something fascinating has happened. It now has a bunch of groups of ministers. So you are revisiting the idea that you had junked. The first thing you had junked from, inherited from UPA when you came to power. So in fact, even before NDA 1 had finished its term in 2018 October, 24 October 2018, a group of ministers were set up under Amit Shah on POSH law, which is the Prevention of Sexual Harassment in Workplace. This, as we told you, was when the Me Too movement was at its peak. But then once the new government came in, the second NDA government, then things changed radically. So there was a group of ministers set up on onion crisis in November 2019. It included Nirmala Sitharaman, the finance minister, Narendra Singh Tomar, agriculture minister, Ramvilas Paswan, the consumer affairs minister, and Piyush Goyal. I'm not telling you who headed it because there's a little twist there. And they came up with the idea, a recommendation that India should make large-scale imports of onions through MMTC, what used to be called Minerals and Metals Trading Corporation. Now, you can run this GOM every year, come October, November, and onion prices will go up, given how unreformed India's agriculture and agricultural economics is. But let's not get digressed in that area. The other group of ministers, important one, was on Har Ghar Nal Se Jal. As Modi government came to power, the second one, they said that their mission this time, like it may have been Ujjwala or Swachh Bharat the previous time, now it was Har Ghar Nal Se Jal. That means in every household, you should get clean, drinkable, potable water through the tap. So this was the Prime Minister's standout idea for his second term. So again, a very high-powered group of ministers were set up. Ministers included were Gajendra Singh Shekhawat, who is the Water Resources Minister, Jal Shakti Mantri, again Narendra Singh Tomar, the Agriculture Minister, and Hardeep Singh Puri, who is also Minister of State, independent charge for housing. So these three ministers, again I am not telling you who's heading it because thereby lies a tale. Then there were four more groups set up. I told you about the group on prevention of sexual harassment in workplace law. That was under Amit Shah, but that happened by the way because the group was set up under Rajnath Singh because Rajnath Singh was Home Minister then. That group, naturally, as Rajnath Singh became Defence Minister, Amit Shah moved there. Then there's a group on Air India privatization. That includes Nirmala Sitharaman, Piyush Goyal, and Hardeep Puri. You know what their portfolios are. Yet another group on telecom, whose main objective is to see how to bring about the revival or a change of role for MTNL, BSNL, etc., etc. That also included Ravi Shankar Prasad, IT Minister, Nirmala Sitharaman, the Finance Minister. High-powered groups, again I am not telling you who heads it. And then a group came up in 2018 on mob lynching. Now that group was by definition under the Home Ministry, so Home Minister has to head it. Now the reason I did not tell you who heads all these six groups, that is group on onion crisis, Har Ghar Nal Se Jal, Air India privatization, prevention of sexual harassment law, that I told you, telecom, mob lynching. The same minister heads all these groups, and that is Amit Shah. I'm sure all of you guessed it. So my closing line, and that's the reason I said I will keep this as a twist in the end, that Amit Shah now is the, if Pranab Mukherjee was the Gom Dada or Egom Dada of UPA, Amit Shah now is the Egom Dada or Gom Dada or Bhai, he comes from Gujarat, of NDA. This also tells you something else. This also tells you that one big difference between a Modi government and say any other government in the past was, maybe Indira Gandhi was a bit like this but not enough, that this is much more a government that is much more centralized in the Prime Minister's office and all orders, decisions come from the Prime Minister. So it seems like the initial belief was that you don't need a strong cabinet and you don't need strong ministers who can carry their weight. But in the course of time, you realize that governing India is a very complex challenge. So you need more people and you need to empower more people. In the process, you've seen these groups come up. Now, it's true that the most important groups are headed by the most important and the most trusted minister. That is bound to happen. So, as time passes, I think we'll see a few more of these. In fact, we have some already. They are not as high profile. Those are not headed by Amit Shah, so they are not empowered as much. But you can see that each group is headed by a minister holding a portfolio different from the key ministry, nodal ministry about which that group is taking a decision, which is, you can see that this is a tactic which has now emerged. So this is something worth taking note of. So the group on health, for example, is not headed by the health minister Harshvardhan. It is headed by Shripad Nayak, who is the Ayush minister and an aspect of health, but not the main health minister. Group on education is headed by Dharmendra Pradhan, who is petroleum minister. Group on government communication. I don't think this government needs a group on government communication. I think a lot of the media just repeats the propaganda and applauds the government. Nevertheless, no government has enough positive publicity as they think. So this is a group under Ravi Shankar Prasad, who's IT minister, and this group has some very interesting ideas they we come up with. For example, a lot of the journalists are being thrown out of their jobs these days. So employ them in these government efforts to create better communication about itself or better propaganda. Now, I know that we all know sadly that a lot of journalists have been thrown out of their jobs this year. How many of them will go and work for the government? I don't know. वो जिसको कहते हैं अपनी अपनी श्रद्धा की बात है. Then there is a group on export promotion under Prahlad Joshi, who is Minister for Coal and Mines, not Commerce Minister. Group on employment and skill development, that is under Thawarchand Gehlot, who's the Minister for Social Justice and Empowerment. And then there is a group on enhancing manufacturing in India, which is under Smriti Irani. So you find that there has been some unbundling of power, at least at the groundwork level. I would say the groups that Amit Shah heads, those are groups with real power. So they will be like today's EGOMs or EGOMs, and these ones are like today's GOMs, which then put up reports and come up with recommendations for the entire cabinet.